Welcome everybody to another episode of the Nerd Kitchen, and today we're cooking up something near and dear to my heart. We're talking about network security. So this is a big part of what Laughing Rock does, and specifically what I do at Laughing Rock. So this is kind of a fun one for me. I imagine it's going to be a great one for you because he doesn't like talking about network security. It's kind of the coolest thing ever. So let's start with kind of jumping into a brief, what are we talking about when we talk network security? I feel like it's a huge term. It kind of encompasses a ton of stuff, and different people think it means different things, even within our industry. So let's clarify a little bit here. Network security, in a very general sense, covers anything where your data or your systems touch the rest of the world. So, in a perfect world, any network administrator would love to see you working on a computer in a locked closet, probably in a safe room, with a fire barrier, a closed environmental system, and no internet access. I mean, that's what we'd all love to see because it's, essentially unbreachable. The reality is, we live in a cloud world. There's very little you can even do on your computer without access to the internet and without access to all your network resources. So that's an unrealistic expectation. So how do we get from a perfectly secure, closed environment to an open environment that is still secure? That is what network security strives to achieve. That's security in the face of a non-secure world. Good examples of things that are open to the world that you would interact with would be your office internet connection. Obviously, everybody in your office shares an internet connection that goes out to the world that is open to the world. Employees that work from home on an internet connection, that are allowed to keep company data off-site, or that remote in to access company resources. Those are inherent areas where there could be breaches or there could be security issues. Cell phones that are connected to network resources, obviously a huge problem if they're not properly managed. Wi-Fi, and it's been around for so long, most people don't think about it. We have a whole other episode we're going to do just on Wi-Fi, but again, a big place where you're literally broadcasting access to your network, and really any type of cloud resources. And that includes email. Email is anymore a cloud resource, and these things are open to the web and are accessible. So I want to start here before we get into some of the examples and some of the stuff that we're going to show you. What are the goals of network security? What are we trying to achieve, and what do you want to achieve on your network, and what do you want your IT partner to try to achieve on their side of this relationship? And I want to start with something that I think doesn't get talked about enough, but to be perfectly blunt, there is no such thing as an unhackable network. So as soon as you are out there and connected to the web or connected in any way, shape, or form to the other devices that make up the global internet, you are at risk. And anything, given enough time and resources, can be breached. So the goal here of a good network security plan is not to make your network unhackable. That's an unattainable goal, and it would be beautiful to be able to do it, but it's not really possible. The goal is to make breaching your system so difficult that anybody who would think to do it will move on to a softer target. So the idea here is to harden your network to the point where it's no longer cost-benefit analysis worth it to spend the time and resources that would be required to get in. This means the more valuable the data you contain, the more strict your security needs to be. And that's a big one. This is why we see compliancy from HIPAA. They know you're holding on to medical records and stuff that can be easily exploited, so they add extra security requirements in their compliancy. You see the same thing with PCI. They're doing with credit card numbers, bank account numbers, things like that. They have extra security levels that you have to that come into play. We'll address compliancy in a separate episode, but it is important to realize that's why those things exist. They're trying to address that more valuable data component. Also, the more valuable your data, the more effort someone will apply to getting to it, which means the more effort you need to apply to protecting it. It's an arms race, and it never stops. As you get more and more data that's worthy of having, you need to spend more and more time protecting it. There's no one-size-fits-all here. We get a lot of customers that really don't contain any data. Maybe all of their stuff is kept on the cloud. They use access portals within their network to reach their cloud resources. All of that responsibility is on the cloud provider. They don't worry that much about network security. They just need the basics. A company in the exact same industry with the exact same number of employees, with the exact same types of customers, may contain everything on the local network, and their security requirements go way up because the responsibility went way up. So it's a very dynamic and fluid thing that needs to be considered in order to make sure that you have a solution that is customized to the way you operate. So one of the things we always like to talk about when we talk about network security is the concept of layers. So there's not a product that you put in place that covers network security. There's not one thing that does everything. The idea is to build out basically concentric circles from your data source or your primary data source and build it out so that there are multiple different levels that have to be breached before you actually get to the good stuff, the caramel core, or whatever you want to call it. So the example we like to use in this is we like to use securing your home. Most of us, well, pretty much anybody watching this probably has a home, I hope. And securing it is something that you may or may not have ever thought about, but let's kind of get into it. So first level security, I don't know, get a dog. You get a dog, it roams around the house. If somebody breaks in, it starts barking, maybe even chases them off. That's antivirus. Now, antivirus is roaming around your network. It's looking for intrusions, and when they get in, it cleans them up. Now, I love dogs. I have a dog. The problem is the dog can't do its job until somebody's already broken into the house. So, and I'm even going to show you here real quick. We have a massive infrastructure for PC server and in-network security, and this is the dashboard that we work off of. Now, we have thousands and thousands of endpoints in this dashboard that all get managed. They report out. They crosstalk between other networks. So if you have a certain type of intrusion in California, Alaska, Ohio, Florida, doesn't matter, those computers are going to recognize it and notify everybody else attached to this network. And there are millions upon millions of computers attached to this network. So you may already have a fix to a potential breach before that breach ever even reaches your region of the world. This is the beauty of centralized antivirus and centralized monitoring. So we apply this to every single endpoint that we can that is attached to our networks so that they're all talking and all communicating. This does not mean they're sharing data. You know, the files that are on your computer are not accessible to other computers. None of that is happening, but they are talking about threats, sending data back and forth on what they're seeing from a network standpoint. So this type of software here is kind of the foundation for anything you want to build a good network security program off of. I don't know that it's necessarily the most important part, but you cannot have a well-rounded network security strategy without this. This thing is key to notification, monitoring, antivirus, PC health, Mac health, you know, general device server health. All of that is tied in. So you got your dogs. Maybe you want to add a security system. Back to this software, the security system would be monitoring. Now you've got something that's going to notify you, maybe notify authorities, notify your IT team if somebody does breach the property. Now again, by the time it notifies, they're already breached. So these are what we call reactive products. They're great, they're necessary, but they're not going to do the core function of network security, which is lock it down and keep people out and never allow them in the first place. So that takes us on to the next step, which is obviously get some good window and door locks. You know, almost everybody watching this probably has them. Picking a door lock, breaking a window lock, fairly easy, but it will slow people down. This is passwords on your network. Passwords will slow them down. Eventually, any password can be breached, but it's going to cause them a good, solid password. The better the password policy you run, the longer it's going to take to break. So this is a good stopgap. It buys you time while your monitoring software realizes that something's happening and you can get ahead of it. So now we want to go out from there. And you notice we're building out from where our most important assets are, which would be our family, our possessions, the things in our house. Maybe you want to build a wall around your property with a gate. You know, a nice little wall with a gate. It's fantastic. That's going to be your firewall. It's going to keep things from coming in that shouldn't come in and keep things in that shouldn't be going out. So you want to add some cameras to that. That is going to be your network intrusion software. That's going to be the thing that's going to let you know somebody's skulking around the outside the wall, maybe trying to test the gate to see if they can break in. This is going to notify you of that stuff and actively keep them out. I don't know, maybe you want to hire guards to walk the grounds. This is going to be just like, threat protection, perimeter threat protection. They're going to find stuff that's trying to jump over the wall and get them before they ever get to the house. This list can go on and on. You know, we've got Wi-Fi that mixes into this. We've got VPN, 2FA, all of these things mix into a healthy network security solution, but the analogy is apt. You know, as you build out and out and out, it becomes increasingly difficult to get in. So why then, if we obviously have all these great tools and all these clever ways of protecting networks, why do we have breaches? Why does network security fail? There's a number of reasons why network security fails, but almost universally it starts with the human element. Systems are only as good as their weakest link, and humans tend to be the weakest link in any system because they're very dynamic and unpredictable. You can program a system to do the same thing a million times without fail, and it will. But a human will, you know, do something silly like write their password on a post-it note and put it under their keyboard. It's clearly not going to be in anybody's network security policy, but that type of thing has been known to cause breaches. Maybe they take important files and put them on a thumb drive and take them home to work. They have good intentions, but they caused a breach on your network because their home computer wasn't secured and wasn't a part of the network infrastructure. I don't know, maybe they improperly secured their work from home device, or maybe the company has bad work from home policies. Then you end up back in the same boat where that becomes a fail point. Improperly managed laptop and company devices are always showing up as security threats. Unsecured or poorly secured remote access or Wi-Fi or any type of cloud resource obviously is a huge threat. And I personally think the biggest reason why threats happen repeatedly to individual organizations is because of a lack of training. And nobody likes going to IT training. I know that. I do it and I know that. But the problem is, without knowledge of how a phishing attempt that you fall for can actually cause your customers' data to be stolen and sold on the internet, without knowledge of how to prevent that, you're doomed to eventually fall for it. So the training needs to encompass multiple aspects. It needs to encompass, why do we do network security? What is the strategy of our network security? Explaining that to your employees is critical so they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Phishing protection, work from home protection, remote access protection, all these things should be talked about on a regular basis, and definitely as they change. I can't tell you how many times we see just a general email that goes out that says, hey, we've changed our work from home policy, attached, read it. Nobody's reading that. I mean, that is an instant delete email, and that you leave in your deleted box for 6 months to make sure your manager doesn't ask you about it, and you can pull it up real quick and check. I mean, you need to actually have the conversation, say, here's why we changed it, here's the strategy, and here's how it affects you. These are the important things that are part of your training to make sure that your security is implemented at all levels. I do have an infographic up here. This is a key part of what we do when we strategize out network security. Now, I talked about a lot of that analogy between home security and network security earlier, and here you will actually see that a lot of this stuff shows up. And this is an actual customer diagram. We removed any customer-specific information from it, but this is real. This is a real network that we manage. You'll notice they've got 3 separate locations that are firewalled, in addition to their remote workers. And we've got each location diagrammed out based on what they have on site. This is your starting point. I mean, as you'll see here, you've got your firewalls. And we're noting on here, on a normal one, we would have the model number and IP addresses and everything. This one's been stripped out. And you've got your actual firewall icon there. You've got your Wi-Fi. So which locations have Wi-Fi and where is it located? Is it right on the perimeter of the network? Is it inside the network? Is it behind switches? Where exactly is your Wi-Fi being controlled from? You've got all your switches. Are they managed or are they unmanaged? You've got your backup appliances. Where do they live? You've got your servers. Where do they live? And this goes on and on, deeper and deeper into this environment. And then as you look at this, you start to pick out where are our weak spots. Now, what's not showing here is how does remote access happen? Where are they coming in through? What are they going into? A normal network diagram will eventually show that. This one's kind of a stripped down version because there's a certain level of detail we just can't get into without breaching confidentiality. But as you can see, a standard network can get pretty complex pretty quickly, even when you're doing it in general terms like this. So having a good partner that can parse this and put together a strategy around it to make sure that you're not culpable or liable for network breaches is a huge part of what you want to do from a management standpoint and from a security standpoint. At the end of the day, though, the whole thing, whether you're talking about strategizing it from the beginning, doing upgrades to network security, or just doing a review on your network security, the whole thing comes down to one simple concept, and that is balance. So, I mean, the balancing act is real. Security is important, but every single time you address network security, you must balance the value of the network security against the effect it has on productivity. If you tighten security up so much that nobody can even access their resources, you're not going to get anything done. And if you loosen it up so much that it's very easy to get to their network resources, but it's also very easy for anybody else to get to their network resources, you put yourself at risk. That is the game you play every day from a network security standpoint, and you never stop. You always have to be thinking about that. And a final thought here is you will get complaints as you tighten up security from employees. I don't care how big your organization is, there will always be some who will hate having to deal with 2FA, that will not like that they have to, multi-factor into a VPN, or that they're restricted on use of their cell phone for certain features. Always listen to your employee concerns and take them into consideration, but never allow employee concerns to dictate policy. What they want and what the organization needs can sometimes be very different things, and while what they're asking for is relevant, it may not be possible while still achieving your overall goals of a truly secure environment. So that's it. That's all we got on this. It's not a lot, but we only got 10 minutes, so we had to keep it brief. If you got more questions, hit us up in the comments, give us a call, see the website, I don't know, ping me on LinkedIn, whatever you got to do, and we'll get you some answers. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.